Hi, I'm Ethan. So this podcast is called Game Time, where I talk about video games that need to change over time or need to be fixed or brought back to a previous state to bring back player base. I have been playing video games since I was 3 or 4, and I started playing computer games around 9 to 10. I'm now 16. This episode, I'll be covering the current state of Rust. I'll be interviewing a person that I met online named Joel that has a lot of experience in this game. Rust. Rust is a survival, player combat online game. Your entire goal is to survive and be stronger and have more loot than everybody else. Rust was released back in December 11th of 2013. Originally, it was just a survival game, but when player base dropped, it was 2022. It was due to a detrimental change to the player base and how the gun system worked. The recent updates have been making it more like Arma 3 or Squad. It's become more of a battlefield instead of a survival game. Some of these game changes are for better or worse, or where the game went wrong or poorly. One of the updates that could have been seen as beneficial or worse was the tech tree update. It changed the need to roam from your base or adventure to find certain items. Over time, the Rust player base has seemed to start dropping. During January 2021, it was at an all-time high at 142,000 consistent players. Now, it's significantly lower than that, but not at all. It's around an average of 80,000 players playing consistently. April, waves and changes. This was last month's update. This was actually one of the benefits. They reworked Harbor, which had been a monument since from the start of the game and felt just a little underpowered. They gave it more crates and more point of being near it. They made the cargo ship, which has NPCs, which are non-player characters, holding it, which has high value loot, making it a target for big groups and people who just want to get. This improved a lot of stuff. The one during March was called Lighting the Way. They added the nightlight, which made it where you could actually function during nighttime instead of it being pitch black. New features and bags to riches. They added a metal detector, backpacks, which were a huge benefit for solo players. It made them able to carry a lot more loot, and it pretty much had an extra inventory due to the 28 slots the large backpack gave you. Bags to battles. This was another major gameplay update. They changed the ability to place as many sleeping bags as you wanted and limited it to only 15. This, again, nerfed solo players and helped improve for bigger groups due to them being able to have more respawns than others. The industrial update. This was more of just a content update allowing auto sorters and other things, making stuff more efficient, and also added the electric furnace, which is very convenient considering it doesn't need wood to be powered. Is where they made the most detrimental change in my opinion. The combat update. What was unique about Rust and its game form was the fact of it did not matter about aim cone or anything that was RNG. It was purely your skill unable to control. They added aim cone, which pretty much means no matter where your cursor is, your bullets will always go in a circle around that spot at random times. There were items to help reduce this, but they ended up nerfing them, making it even harder. PvP, high intensity, whoever was better usually won. But when they changed this, they made it where it was more RNG. There wasn't as much control on the situations if you were better, or the ability to use lower tier weapons and kill higher tier if you were just better. They also made a huge gap between the semi-auto rifle and the Thompson by making the Thompson have incredible aim cone. Like, you have your cursor placed on something, you don't know where the bullets are going, even if you have 100% control. They actually made it unusable. A lot of the older player base that had sunk around 10,000 hours into the game at this time quit. Because the entire time that they were practicing, getting better at the game, it just got removed. There was no point anymore to getting better, because everything just came down to a 50-50. Another controversial change was the tech. But it was a very, very, very useful. I do think Rust entirely just needs to revert to old recoil and keep every other single change it's made. The entire recoil system just made whatever they've added unplayable. Like, actually terrible. You couldn't roam, roams died, it became a game of numbers and not skill. Like, back before the combat update, groups of 3 could beat groups of 15 and 16 if they were good. It still happens, it's just not as common anymore. Now it's a complete gamble. It's not even skill. Numbers almost always wins, no matter what. And due to this, it's made a lot of players go to modded servers away from official due to the official having very poor support, plus the fact that cheating's rampant. And they have done very, very little to actually crack down on cheaters. And cheaters have become a problem and have been a problem in this game for the entirety of the time. It's actually insane. And most modded servers aren't hosted by Alistar or Facepunch, which Alistar is the owner of Rust. And they're better, they're easier to play, and it just takes less time for most people who don't have enough time to sync anymore. Well, that wraps up my opinion. My guest and I will be talking around similar things, and he'll also be sharing his opinion on these questions. So recently, on this first Thursday of May, the 2nd, they added a new update called Meta Madness. So this change actually was super helpful. They reduced the aim code on a lot of guns overall, which is amazing. They made it so much better. Like, everything's usable again. They buffed the LR and the custom SMG, which were two of the the weakest guns in the game. They buffed Holosight from its previous nerf. For cargo ship, they made a dock at both harbors, which means it gives a better chance for players to actually get on and not be stuck running and riding a boat into a big group, and it's uncounterable. They changed how Bradley works in its launch site, so it's now releasing more scientists, so it makes it harder, which it's definitely scarier. I've done it a couple times. And they changed the PvP walls, so high walls no longer are usable. What people would do is when they were roaming or running around the map looking for fights, they would place high walls if they started getting shot at to give them protected cover. But those high walls now have a 3-second placement time. So they changed wooden barricades to be slightly wider, same height. So now it's cheaper to use these walls, and plus people can't roam with walls, which is good because it actually means you have to play around terrain in the map. And the custom, again, weakest gun, shoots like literal peas at people. It's like you're have a pea launcher and you're shooting at them at it. But they actually made it so it has more bullets, they have a better chance of killing, and it just makes it such a better gun and so much more usable. Well, that wraps up my opinions. My guest and I will be discussing similar things and his opinions on these questions. His name is Maximus. Max, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Maximus Nasefi.
So, what's your opinion on the current state of Rust?
I think it's pretty good, but balancing they're heading in the right direction. In my opinion, the thing that they're lacking on is more of map generation, and every wipe just feels the same because all maps just are the same, like style and all that.
Yeah, they consist of the same generation. I think, aren't they working on that?
Yeah, they said it's in the works.
I'm actually so glad. Why do you think Rust lost a lot of its veterans or older player base?
Probably because of the recoil change that happened a couple years back, I believe. It was the recoil was very hard and intricate to learn. It took many hours of practice, and they made it more easier for the newer players to have. and it just like essentially got rid of the skill gap, but it didn't because game sense is just more important now than ever, and that's still a major skill gap. So it didn't really get rid of the skill gap. It just made it, I don't know, easier to play.
I think that consists of a lot, and that's probably why, just because of all the hours they put into the said time.
Yep.
What changes do you think need to be made to bring back old players?
I would say add more guns with harder recoils to learn that are slightly better, like in the mid tiers, like a tier 2 gun that's really like that does good damage but hard to use, and a tier 3 gun that does good damage and hard to use, but it's perfectly balanced overall.
Yeah, they've been definitely going in the right way, like adding the Benelli, but the minigun's just kind of overpowered. Where do you think changes need to be reformed or just like completely removed from what they've added over the last couple of years?
I think they need to redo the attack helicopter along with a total revamp of some monuments like launch site. It just feels like the same. The only incentive in launch site really is just Bradley, but they did a good job of making it harder to take and adding people and like more of an incentive for people to counter it because it spawns heavy in normal scientists. Also, oil rigs are pretty decent, but small rig needs a light buff on the loot because it's only one elite crate and then the lock crate on that. That's really like the only reason why you take it.
Yeah, and besides, just the fact that it's like overall easier. What's your favorite monument?
My favorite monument is probably Train Yard because it's the most intricate and it spawns scientists, has decent amount of loot, and the puzzle is pretty good, and then it has spawns a lot of crates on each puzzle room. And lock crates get dropped there often.
What do you think the strongest monument is?
I'm going to say Train Yard. It's just the best to build around in most servers because lock crate drops there almost all the time. The puzzles are good. It's almost always in a great location, I've noticed, and it's a hot spot for PvP.
I completely agree. Why do you think the game has become more number-based instead of skill?
Probably because to attract more players, and I've seen that it's been getting really good because there are more people playing now than ever before. And they don't want to make it too hard for people to play, but not too easy to where, like, it's just, like, where you don't want to play it after a while.
That makes sense. I understand. What was your reason for starting to play Rust?
I watched YouTube videos on it, and then I was like, this game looks neat. And I've been playing it for the past 4 years with some breaks in between to play other games.
Do you remember what YouTuber got you into playing Rust?
Blueprint, Spirit Kid, and Stevie is the 3 that got me into Rust. Mostly Blueprint. I watched all his videos. In fact, I'm watching his older videos right now for like the nostalgia factor.
Just missing the old fun. How much experience do you have with Rust?
I had an old account that got banned because I spent money on my mom's credit card, and Steam said, no, we're gonna lock this account now. So I had 800 hours on that account, and then on my second account, which you know me and always been playing on, I have 1,200 hours on that. So I have around like 2,000 hours of experience on Rust.
So you're roughly around the same time that I am. What do you think is like... What do you think would bring back, like, old veterans? Like, what do you think, like, without old recoil, what do you think would bring them back into the game?
Just the whole revamp of monuments. Not a tire change, but making them, like, balanced with, like, the risk and reward. Because in Rust, it's high risk, high reward. Especially, I would say, like, launch site, or maybe adding, like, a couple new monuments like they're doing right now. They have a new monument in the works called Rat Town.
I have seen them adding that, and it actually looks interesting. They're bringing back, what, is it that from Legacy?
Yeah.
Out of your 3 content creators that you listed, who's your favorite and why?
I would say Blueprint because he's the person I'd watch all the time when I was playing Rust during the weekdays. Even when I was playing Rust on my other monitor, he'd be up. I'd be watching. And I always look forward to a new video. I still do.
Yeah, Blueprint's goated. He's my favorite out of all of them too. But actually, besides Tacular, but that's a different reason. Why do you think the game's becoming like more as in like Arma 3 or Squad versus, like the old survival game it once was?
To encourage PvP and then add a different scape of what people are used to, but there still is that survival aspect to it, and it's still heavily in there because you get raided quite often and you just want to switch servers, so you're constantly in that grind.
The Rust grind is so real. What's your favorite part of the Rust wipe? Like, what tier?
I would say mid tier because it's just where you're getting all your basis for if you're gonna keep playing or not, and if you're gonna have a good wipe or a bad wipe.
What's your first memory that comes to mind from Rust?
Playing with you and all of them, because it's just we play so much together, and then we play all day, every weekend, every time that I could play, we'd all play together, and it's just all those good wipes we had is just always there.
Dude, I miss the old wipes. I miss the GFL.
Yes.
Running off on a 5X. What about the Heli AI would you change?
Oh my god, I'd revert it back to what it was. But I'd keep the new thing where it circles around your base and shoots rockets. I think that's neat. But the fact that they made it that it just goes around and keeps shooting your base like that, I think it's just dumb. And then it leaves, even if you don't shoot at it for 2 seconds, or if it gets a low, it'll shoot at you. It's so dumb.
It just runs. It doesn't even make it even playable. It's not even a thing anymore. And the only time you see it go down is next to the 30 man who's holding each other.
Yeah, this past weekend when we were playing, Telly kept flying over our base. I wouldn't even bother trying to take it because I knew I couldn't.
It's not even worth, because we weren't even, what was the closest thing, power plant?
Yeah.
How do you think they could fix the cheating issue?
I honestly think that an automatic script detector or no more macros. If it detects a macro, you just get kicked. You won't even get banned. You'll just get kicked. Because I don't think some people just use macros for other things, not really PvP. But I think it's just good.
What macros are people using? Because I don't know.
I would say weapon macros. They have scripts embedded in their macro.
Oh yeah. I forget how many people just cheat in this game. Actually, Rustera? It got traded to cheaters.
Yeah, no. In fact, I actually I never cheated in game, but I did in fact try out. I wanted to see how people use the macros. It's actually pretty easy to get. There's online you can find the Rust scripts. It's free, and then you upload it to your mouse's software, and then you bind it to a keybind, and then when you click on it, it automatically moves. It doesn't move your mouse itself, it just moves the in-game cursor to the recoil itself, making it still.
Yeah, it's such an issue, and they're getting better about it. It's just the easy anti-cheat has been around for so long, so people are used to getting around it.
Yeah. They just need an updated anti-cheat overall.
Isn't that an issue with a lot of other games, especially Tarkov and others?
Yeah, I stopped playing Tarkov for that reason. Well, that was part of it. But I never really ran into that many cheaters. When I did, it just made me get off the game. That's what happened. I play other games.
So real closet cheaters are an issue. Well, thank you, Max, for coming on the podcast and sharing your opinions. I think it's really helpful to have multiple on the outside. I really appreciate you. and it was enjoyable talking to you. Take care.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you.
To my podcast, I went over just some general opinions and changes that needed to be made for the game Rust to become something amazing again. Next episode, I'll be talking about the controversy over the Unheard Edition and other controversy from Escape from Tarkov by Battlestate Games. This is Game Time. Testing, 1, 2, 3. So, what do you think about that question, how I asked it? What do you overall think's the best?